All right, you may now be ready to dress up your program a little bit. One thing we really want to do is draw a whole bunch of bricks. But before we do that, some of you have been asking, how do we draw a fancy background when we run our game? So first of all, I'm going to go grab a background. So I will open up a new tab. And I'm just going to search for space wallpaper. Okay, and my background is 500 by 500, so that's really big. That's 3840 by 2160. So if you hover your mouse, it'll tell you the size. Now, the bigger, the better. You can always resize this to be smaller. If you find a small one and then stretch it, then that's not going to be very good. It's going to be pretty blurry. All right, so I'm going to pick this one right here. So if I click on it, again, this image is pretty big. So how can we resize this? You can resize it in different ways, but what I find might be the best is to search for Google Drawing. So just like Google Docs and Google Sheets and Google Slides, there's another program called Google Drawing that you may or may not have known about. And I am going to first resize my drawing. So I'm going to go to File, Page Setup, and I'm going to set a custom size, switch it to pixels, and I'm going to make mine 500 by 500. Of course, you can change yours if your screen is bigger. And then I'm going to go and grab that picture and drag it into that tab right here. Okay, and then I'm going to stretch it. And when you stretch it, you want to stretch from the corner. Never stretch from the side because then it will get really squished. So I'm going to undo that. So you want to stretch it from the corner. Now, if I just zoom out a bit here, you can see, okay, so there's my 500 by 500 picture. So I'm just going to put this right about here, and it's, the sides are going to be cut off, but that's okay. So now I'm going to download this picture as a JPEG, and I'm using Chrome, so the download is going to be here. If you're using Safari, then your downloads are going to appear up here somewhere. Or if you're using another browser, it might automatically just save to your downloads folder. So go and look for your folder there. So now what I need to do with this is I need to put this file into my folder, into my BrickBreaker folder. So here's my project folder with all of my files. And I'm just going to take this and drag it in just like that. And I'm going to rename this to background. Okay. And if you just hover your mouse over it, you'll see, again, if you're using Windows, you'll see the dimensions 500 by 500 appear there. So it looks good. All right, so let's go back to our code. And we're going to go into BrickBreaker game and scroll to the top. Okay, so what I'm going to do is I'm going to create another variable that is an image. So this comes with the JDK. We don't have to create an image class. This already comes with it, like string and scanner and all that stuff. So I'm going to call this BG. You could call it background if you want, but I'm going to give it a different name, BG. Okay, and then in my constructor, we have to do something a little strange here, which most of you have probably never seen before, but it's called a try-catch statement. And it looks like this, and it actually looks like an if-else, and it kind of is like an if-else, and you need to use a try-catch if you're ever reading files from a folder. So if you're reading in an audio file or a graphic, a JPEG, or even just a text document, if you're reading that in, then we're going to need a try catch statement just in case the file is not found. So instead of crashing, it's going to handle it nicely. And so we have to put IO exception right here. And then inside the try catch, I'm going to assign BG. So this is the variable that I just created up here, BG. I'm going to assign that to image.io.read new file. And then I believe it was called background.jpg. Now, this has to be spelled exact, so it has to be exactly the same as what you called it here, okay? And then we have to apply the extension, so JPG. And this, of course, has to be saved inside the same folder as your project. Okay, now I believe we need an import statement for this. Yeah, so it's not understanding file, so I'm going to go to the top, and we're going to import java.io.star and image.io. So we're also going to import javax.image.io.star, and I think that's it. Yeah, okay, so that's all the import statements we need. So this sets up the file and loads it into this image variable called BG. You don't have to put anything in here, and I'm going to leave it empty for now. And what I am going to do, though, is now draw this image. So I'm going to go to my paint method down here. And the first thing I'm going to do, so I am going to draw my walls first, okay? But then instead of drawing this black background, I want to draw my image. Actually, I'm just giving it some thought here. It might be better. Okay, we're going to get rid of this for sure. But I may want to, Okay, let's just try this and see what happens here. So we're going to say g.drawImage 0, 0. Actually, my mistake. We want the top left corner of the image to be 5, 5. And the reason why is because we still have our yellow wall. So we have a yellow wall in the background, and that starts at 0, 0. And then on top of that, we're going to draw our image, but we're going to slide it over to 5, 5, just so we can see some of our wall appearing. Oh, my mistake. The first parameter needs to be BG. So that's the image variable. So that needs to be the first parameter. And then the X and Y of the top left corner. And then we have to say the word null here at the end. Okay, so I'm hesitating here because I think when I run this, I might lose my right-hand side wall. So let's just see what happens. So I'm going to compile. And I'm going to run this. Yeah, just as I thought. Okay, and the reason why is because my image is 500 by 500, but I pushed it over 5 pixels. So because this yellow width is 5 pixels, and I want that to appear on either end, I should have shaved 10 pixels off my picture. Okay, so what I can do is just go back to my Google Drawing and change the size of this. So I didn't really give this some thought here. So my width is not going to be 500, but it's going to be 490 because I want 5 pixels on the left and 5 pixels on the right to show through. So I want that yellow background to appear. By the way, that yellow background could also be another image. So maybe it's a image of an actual brick, a brick wall, instead of just a yellow square. You could try and figure that out. And then the height of it, I'm just going to leave at 500 because I don't have a bottom wall, so that's okay. I'm just going to leave that and hit apply. And then I'm just going to drag that back over. And then let's re-download it as a JPEG. And then I simply just have to save it back on top of this background. So I'm going to delete that background, and then I'm going to drag this new one over. Okay, and then I'm going to resize it to background. Okay, and then everything should work. So my code still has the same name, background. It's just replaced the file. So if I run this, let's have a look now. Perfect. Okay. So yeah, now the width of it is 490, so that both walls are showing, and then the height of it is 500, and that's okay. You can leave it at that height. So now let's see if it works. Yeah, it still works. Paddle still comes into contact and doesn't go off the screen. Okay, excellent. So play around with the images. The other thing you can think of, like I mentioned, this yellow wall, you could have that be an image too. So maybe there's an image behind this image. And then the other thing you can think of is, how could you make your ball an image, or your paddle an image, or the blue brick an image? So I'm going to let you think about that and see if you can figure that out before the next video. Okay.